There's been a lot of talk about change up here in New Hampshire lately. And it's certainly true that change is just a word. Anybody can say it, but it's what you're prepared to do that actually shows where you're committed to changing it. Actually bringing change starts with telling the truth. And the truth is that the system in Washington, D.C. is broken, and anybody who defends that system cannot change it. Our system of government has been hijacked. It's been hijacked for the benefit of corporate profits and for the very wealthiest in America. Washington is rigged against regular Americans, against working Americans like you and the men and women that you represent, whose interests and concerns don't stand a chance against the onslaught of corporate lobbyists in Washington, D.C., and the money that controls what happens in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, the evidence of this is increasingly clear. For more than 20 years, Democrats have talked about universal health care. In 1993, we, the Democrats, we controlled the Congress and we controlled the White House. And we had a Democratic president who actually had the courage to propose a plan for universal health care. It was completely killed. Who killed it? The army of lobbyists working for big insurance companies, drug companies, and HMOs. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can ask the person who was in charge. Because in addition to health care, dependence on foreign oil is smothering America. Smothering America. And it's choking our environment. Everybody knows it. Politicians from both parties have been calling for energy independence in America for 30 years. But the oil men in the White House have handed the keys to the corridors of government to the lobbyists for big oil companies and let them literally write the energy plan and the energy bill for America. Now, as all of you know very well, gas prices are going through the roof, carbon emissions are unchecked, and global warming is probably getting worse. While Congress launched an effort to make prescription drugs available to so many Americans who desperately need it, particularly our seniors, the lobbyists for the drug companies, they went to work. As soon as that effort began, they went to work. Instead of prescription drug reform that would have brought down the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans, those lobbyists got America a prescription drug bill that boosts big drug company profits, but it does not cut the cost of prescription drugs for ordinary Americans. And now, the guy who was actually in charge of moving that so-called reform bill through the Congress, he is the head of a drug company lobbying group, and he's making millions every year to keep these drug company profits up. The worst loophole on Wall Street lets hedge fund managers escape paying income taxes on most of the money they make. I was the first presidential candidate to support a plan to close that loophole. They ought to be paying their tax responsibility like you're meeting your tax responsibility. But this is important. Now, top Democrats are now showing signs of backing up on doing something to make sure these hedge fund managers pay their fair share because the hedge fund lobbyists are putting pressure on them. And here's the kicker. Guess who heads the opposition every time anybody proposes a plan to get money out of politics? Special. You gotta let me finish my speech here. The people who oppose it are special interest lobbyists. Now just think about that. They oppose universal health care to protect their profits. They oppose energy independence, prescription drug reform, and tax reform to protect their profits. So why do they oppose campaign finance reform and public financing? To protect their profits for exactly the same reason. Because they know these entrenched, powerful special interests in Washington know that money means influence, and campaign contributions is how they move their money. If we want real change in this country, then we have got to get the money out of politics. Because you can't really be for change if you won't agree to get rid of the lobbyist money that prevents it. Yes. We can act now. We don't have to wait. We don't need to wait for a reluctant Congress or an unwilling president to enact a law. to get the money out of politics. We can actually reform our party, the Democratic Party right now. A month ago, I issued a challenge where I said, let's all stop taking money from Washington lobbyists. We know why they give their money. They give their money for influence. That's why Washington lobbyists give their money. But we wanted to say to them, I wanted to say to them clearly, we don't work for you. We don't want your money anymore. And this is not about the past. It's about the future. I'm not asking anybody to give back any money they've already gotten, and I'm not asking them to apologize for taking it. What I'm saying is from this day forward, I want my party to actually be the party for the people, not the party for the